This is the Sirui 85mm f1.4. In this video, I'm going to share with you my shooting experiences, vignetting, center sharpness, autofocus both for video and photography, chromatic aberration or fringing, and how this lens relates in terms of price quality into the L mount ecosystem. So before I forget it, this episode was made possible thanks to Sirui, who sent over the 85mm to me and basically said, do an honest review on it. And by the way, here's a great discount code. So if you want to make use of that, see here the links below. They're either in the pinned comments or in the description, but you'll see them popping up here in the episode as well. You get a nice discount, and more importantly, it's also a sale at Sirui. That also means you get a discount, and on top of it you get a discount, so that will save you a pretty penny, not only on the 85, on all Sirui equipment. So have a look down there. Now let's go to the next part. Terms of what it really has. So this is more the specs on it. This lens comes in at 540 grams or nearly 1.2 pounds. It's weather sealed. It's got a nice little gasket here. The lens is front coated with fluorine, which basically means it gathers less dust. It also comes with a USB port for future firmware upgrades. This is something which we see with a lot of new lenses nowadays. The filter thread is 67mm, which is pretty standard. The minimum focusing distance is 85 centimeters, so a little under a meter. It comes with 14 elements in 9 groups and 15 rounded blades. So a nice little bit of bokeh here. Also, it has a click and declick button for your apertures, which is really nice. So if you're doing photography, you have the nice clicks, but if you want to do videography, you have the smooth transitions you need so you don't see the wobble or the shake. The aperture max open is f1.4 all the way up to f16, so no f22s. Now let's talk about center sharpness of this lens. The Sirui 85mm at f1.4 does like what other lenses do. The center of the frame is relatively soft, but that's what I think can expect. And I think most portrait photographers wouldn't shoot at f1.4 anyways. Once you stop down to f2.0, things in the sharpness in the center of the frame gradually increases, but it's still relatively soft. At f2.8 we see a very big change, at least into my opinion. You see that the other little samples here are slowly getting into frame. The center sharpness becomes very good, and the picture becomes a bit workable. Once we stop down to f4 as expected, the overall sharpness throughout the frame increases. Center sharpness becomes good to very good, but at f5.6 things become really good. With all lenses f5.6, lenses become center sharpened throughout the entire frame, and you've got a nice separation between foreground and background. f8, things become very sharp, very nicely done by Sirui. And to be very honest, the bokeh here is decent. I'm not a bokeh fetishist, so from my point of view, in terms of center softness, I think the Sirui 85mm performs as you can expect. Now the first thing here is vignetting, and I see with a lot of lenses nowadays that the vignetting is very well controlled, and it comes with an AFL button or a function button. And that's the lens in a nutshell. Now let's not waste any time, let's go into the next part. Even if f1.4 here on the Sirui Aurora 85mm, there is maybe 1 or 2 stops of vignetting since the Lumix latest line, the S9s, the S5 IIs, the S1 IIs, all of those have built-in vignetting control. Now this lens in my testing was pretty amazing. At f1.4 obviously you're going to get a bit of vignetting, but it's actually very well controlled. It's only 1 or 2 stops, easily correctable in Lightroom. From f2 and f2.8 onwards there's barely any vignetting, and obviously at f4, 5.6 and 8 there is no vignetting, so that's very well done by Sirui. Yeah, there's also one thing in most modern Lumix cameras, they automatically apply auto corrections, so on both RAWs and JPEGs, which is a pretty cool feature for Lumix cameras, and it works well here. Now, when it comes to the autofocus, there's 2 parts I use it for. One obviously is for photography, and the other one is a bit for videography. Now, what I've seen with the autofocus for photography is perfect. Facial recognition, perfect on my S9. It just communicates very well with the Sirui 85. If I put it on my S5, so the older autofocusing system, then definitely the lens starts hunting. So from that point of view, very well done. From an autofocusing point of view on video, you see a few samples here. I found that working very well, extremely well actually. Also tested the manual focus. There is a little bit of breathing, but for me, it really isn't a deal breaker. So I think overall the autofocus performance, both in single, in manual and in continuous, functions very, very well. So Aurora really delivered on it, and the S9 seems to love it. So I really think this camera, for those of you who do concert photography, faster moving objects, this lens could well be for you. Fringing and chromatic aberration. I tested this, of course, because if you follow the channel, you know that I am pretty much allergic to it, like a purple fringe, green fringe, or just horrible little side effects on the ears. And what way to better test it than on a very hot day in the middle of the day, people with their clothes semi off and then just making pictures and looking for it. And to be very honest, I did not find anything. Yeah, if I go onto f1.4 2.0, if I really pixel peep, then I actually find some cases of fringing. But in general, I would say this is absolutely fantastic work done by Sirui to be able to control it in the way that you do for the also for the price point where the lens is into the market. So from my point of view, no fringing, no CA, and if you see it, you're basically pixel peeping. So folks, that's definitely well done. So how does the Sirui 85mm compare to its competitors? We have the original, the Lumix 85mm f1.8, pretty much the same design as all the Lumix S1.8s, same weight, perfect for gimbal work. You don't have to recalibrate your gimbal. You don't have an aperture ring. You don't have a function button on there. No thrill lens, roughly the same price class. So that is a good alternative. And also because it's a native Lumix lens, its autofocusing motors are optimized for video AF, which is great. Now, another competitor is the Sigma 85mm f1.4. It's got the aperture ring pretty much as fast as the Sirui 85mm, but it also comes at a cost. It's about $300 to $400 more in retail pricing. I think that Sirui has done something very well. It's positioned this particular lens, the 85mm, very close in terms of price range to the Lumix 85mm f1.8, but it added a lot more into the lens. Aperture ring, function button, weather sealing, and the declickless button, which I think is great. So let me know in the comments below which 85 for the L mount is your favorite.